हेलो बच्चों, वेलकम टू अमेजन अकेडमी। हाउ आर यू ऑल? क्विक अटेंडेंस एवरीबॉडी। हेलो, एन के, एस एस, सी ए, जे वी, जी एम। हाय बच्चों। सो हाउ इज योर रिजल्ट? आई थिंक द रिजल्ट्स आर आउट एज वेल। हाउ वाज द रिजल्ट? एनीथिंग टू शेयर? Anything you feel that how was the paper? How was the result of everybody of you? Hi DG, I think you're Lakshman, right? 95.88 percentile, right? So it's, I think, okay. But yeah, you can give the remaining attempts as well to improve the percentile. I think 98 plus would be would be reasonably okay. You can you are pretty sure of getting a decent college based on that percentile. But for guys, who are probably less than 98, I think you can give the remaining attempts in order to improve the percentile, right? Because the type of colleges that you get from JEE mains are also very, very good. So I think it's better for you to get a good percentile, and if you don't get a good IIT, then you are pretty sure to get a good NIT based on the mains percentile, right? I think 91.8 is on the average side, because 91.8 implies that if there are 10 lakh students, then you get a rank of around you know 80,000, which is not that great. And obviously lower number of students have given this paper. I think around 6.3 lakh students have given. So still the rank on the basis of that can be improved. Okay. So bacho, we will keep discussing this in due course of time. I think more or less what you need to do is that work on your part which is a little bit weak. Okay. And once you get a grip on what segment was weak, or in which subject you got lower marks, you can work on that subject. You can work on those topics which you feel you are still weak at, and at least get a reasonable amount of level and confidence in those areas, those specific topics, so that even if a easy question comes in the exam, you are able to solve it. Okay. That is the whole idea, right? So Bachar, today's class is based on rotational motion, as you guys must be aware of, and this is the first part, and the second part will be on day after tomorrow. Okay. So Bachcho, this is about myself. I think most of you must be familiar with me. My name is Ashish Gupta and did my BTech from IIT Bombay, and I got decent enough marks, rank beta, and I have a good enough experience. But जो घमंड बिल्कुल भी नहीं, that means that I don't have bad ego, right? So these are the life class best practices. Simple things, I think, more or less covered earlier as well. You have to join classes on time, attend all classes, keep revising, be polite, never spam, and you can use my doubt section to ask doubts. Also, system requirements, I use either Chrome or Firefox. Android version 6 and above can be preferred, and you need some kind of internet speed of 5 Mbps and above. Okay. So, Bacho, before we go on to the start of the topic, do you have anything to discuss in DPP? No, as such, I belong to a place called Jodhpur. It is near to Kota, it's in Rajasthan, right? How much marks is required to get admission in IIT? Beta, in IIT, you need to clear JEE Advance first, right? On the basis of mains, you will get admission to all colleges except IIT, right? So, NIT and the regional colleges, you get the admission on the basis of JEE mains. Okay. First, you have to clear JEE Advance in order to get a seat in IIT. Okay. Is there any doubt in DPP, Bacho? Do you have to ask anything? JEE advanced cutoff is not fixed, bachcho. It varies from year to year, depends upon the type of paper in that year, right? Yeah, some colleges might be linked with JEE advanced as well, like ISC and some other colleges as well. So for detailed information, you can go through the site of NTA, and there everything will be mentioned. But in general, we do say that JEE advanced is for IITs and JEE mains is for non-IIT colleges, right? There might be some more colleges associated with advanced, and you can get that information from the official website. Is there anything to ask in DPP, Bacho? Because there is a correction in one of the questions. Question number 2, right? Question number 2. is actually based on ammeter, and over there you can use the resistance as 25 ohm, not to 250. So let's see that question as well. Okay. So bachcho, in question number 2, you are given a galvanometer and there is a shunt which is connected in parallel so that the range increases, right? So we can say that, approximately we can say range of ammeter goes through this shunt and range of galvanometer goes through the galvanometer. So Ig into Rg is equal to Ia into shunt, right? Now if we just substitute the values, we have the range of ammeter as 1 ampere and the range of galvanometer can be written as 30 into 20. 30 into 20 and micro means 10 ki power minus 6, and you can use resistance of galvanometer as 25 ohm, not 250. Yeah, we will discuss first as well. Let us see the second question first. So shunt comes out to be equal to bachcho 0.015 ohm. Okay, this is the answer of second. Now, what was there in first? Let us see. So, bachcho, in the first question, you just had to, apply loop law, and the loop law will go through capital R, 4 ohm and 6 ohm. So, you can just write it down over here in question number 1. Loop law across R, 4 ohm and 6 ohm. R, 4 ohm and 6 ohm. So what will be the equation? So bachcho, the first term will be minus 2R because the current is 2, resistance is R, and we are basically going anti-clockwise, right? The second term will be minus 4 into 3, that is minus 12, and the third term will be plus 6 into 5 because we are going away from the direction of current. So that sum of these three will be equal to 0 and R comes out to be equal to 9 ohm. Please check the first question. I hope it is clear. Hello AB. And the sixth question, let us also see the sixth question. Okay, question number 6. Right. So the circuit diagram in question number 6, bachcho, will have a battery internal and a voltmeter resistance. Now this resistance is 1000 ohm. I think this is given as 1.5 ohm and the battery EMF is given as 2 volt. So what is the reading of voltmeter? So what is the reading of voltmeter? Ideal reading would have been bachcho 2 because we want to find the EMF of this battery. So ideal reading would have been 2, but the actual reading will be equal to I into resistance of voltmeter, that is 1000, because we basically get the reading across the terminals of voltmeter. So this I will be equal to 2 divided by 1000, 1.5 into 1000. Now bachcho, over here if you observe this value, this is just less than 1, and how much percent less will it be? In that case we can say that, if denominator was written as 100, 1.5, it would be 1.5% away from 100. So when it is written 1000, 1.5, it is approximately 0.15% error, right, as compared to the value of 2. Okay, so that is the answer of question number 6. Please check. I hope this is clear. JB, I think it's better for you to go through the class in which those questions were discussed in the recording. Today we will be only be able to discuss DPP of current and the chapter that we have to discuss. Okay, right, bachcho, is it okay? Let us also go through a revision of the previous topic that we discussed of current, and I would really love if all of you could write down quickly the formulae associated with current and VD. The second question, I did discuss BD just a while back. Okay, so go through the discussion if you have just connected. If you have just connected right now, don't worry. Right, so I and VD, write down the formula quickly. Okay, and what else formula do you know? Write down the formula between J and E, J vector and E vector. Write down the formula relating J and current and area. Then Ohm's law. No need to write it on the chat box, but you try to write it in your notebook. Okay. Then Ohm's law, and then resistance and length and area. Relate them. What else? What else is needed? What else formulas are there? I think we can also mention resistance and alpha and delta T, a formula that relates resistance of a resistor on increasing its temperature by delta T. Write down the formula of that. And what else? What else formula can be remembered that we discussed? I think of power, heat flow through a resistance, heat flow through R, and we have for, I think, shunt, formula for shunt. What else? Potentiometer, right? There were two setups for potentiometer. I think two cases were there, two applications were there, right? So I'm just going to write down the formula now, and you can then compare your answers with mine. Yes, for meter bridge, I think that is simply equal to the principle of Wheatstone bridge, balanced Wheatstone bridge. So that is way too easy. I think everybody of you must be able to write it down. Not a big deal. So cross check with what I have written. NEAVD, I is equal to NEAVD, J is equal to sigma E. Very important, right? Sigma is 1 upon rho. Then J is equal to di by dA, or we can write J as I upon A. Ohm's law, obviously delta V is equal to IR. R is equal to rho L by A. R is equal to R naught into 1 plus alpha delta T. Power is I square R, delta V square divided by R, or delta V into I. Please check. Heat flow through R, I square RT for constant current. For constant current, it's I square RT, and for variable current, it will be integration of I square R dt, right? This is for varying current, Okay, so if current is a function of time, you can just put it in this formula and get the value of heat, right? Shunt of ammeter, that will be equal to S is equal to Ig upon Ia into Rg. That is the formula that you can remember, and the assumption is that Ia is much greater than Ig. For potentiometer, E1 upon E2 is equal to L1 upon L2, and the other formula is of internal resistance, L1 upon L2 minus 1 into capital R. Please check. Bacha. I hope all these formulas are highly recognizable, and you have also written down the same in your notebook. Please check. Is it okay? Any doubts in this? I hope this is clear. Now, let's go on to the topics of today, bacho. So, what we are going to discuss is obviously center of mass, and we'll be discussing about calculation of center of mass for discrete continuous mass system, and COM for common shapes that you must be aware of and you must know about it. We'll also discuss what happens when center of mass starts moving. We'll discuss about moment of inertia. Okay, Khush. So, moment of inertia for discrete mass system, for continuous mass system, then parallel axis theorem, perpendicular axis theorem, then moment of inertia of common shapes, and the radius of gyration. So, Bacho, if we start with the concept of center of mass, pretty easy, pretty recognizable, nothing complicated. Center of mass is obviously an imaginary concept, it does not exist in reality, right? And it can lie outside or inside the body. So, suppose we have a ring. So the center of mass is actually at the center of ring where there is no material, right? So it's lying outside the body. Whereas for a disk, the center of mass is lying on the body. So it's not necessary that the center of mass must lie, inside or outside. It can lie anywhere. Whole mass is assumed to be concentrated on it. Yes, that's very important. This is the assumption that we take when we use the concept of center of mass, that whole mass is concentrated on the center of mass. Okay. It is useful to solve some particular cases of mechanics quickly. So this is also something that we must all remember. Okay, bacho. I think it's pretty straightforward, not a something which is tough at all. It's very simple. Then measurement of center of mass. So we have a very standard formula of measuring center of mass for a point mass. Okay. So what is position vector of center of mass? It is m1 into r1 vector plus m2 into r2 vector up till mn into rn vector divided by sum of the masses, that is m1 plus m2 up till mn, right? Now what exactly is r1 vector over here? So bachcho, if we have a mass, small mass, discrete means small mass, m1, which is of suppose 2 kg and the coordinates are 2, minus 1, 1. So we can say that, r1 vector is equal to 2 I cap minus j cap plus k cap, right? So this is how you can replace the position vector of r1 over there. And similarly, you can substitute all the masses, all the position vectors to get the final location of center of mass. Then also, bachcho, you can break it into x com I cap plus y com j cap and all that. Then you can say that x com, and now I can remove that vector sign because we are in 1D, is simply equal to m1 x1 plus m2 x2 up till mn xn divided by sigma m. Now this x com is x coordinate. This x com is x coordinate of center of mass, right? Similarly, y com, bachcho, y com can be written as m1 y1 plus m2 y2 up till mn yn divided by sum of all masses, and same goes for z com, m1 z1 plus m2 z2 mn zn divided by sum of all masses. I hope this is fine, bachcho. Any kind of doubt, any problem, please check. Is it okay? How is 99.639? It's obviously quite good, right? It's pretty good, beta RS. You have done a good job, right? No doubt. 92.53 is also decent, but I can say that you can give the remaining attempts and try to get better percentile. Okay, so my aim would be, if I would be in your place, that something above 98, I would be reasonably satisfied that I will get a decent college based on that percentile. Okay. I think Arish, you don't have to think much, because this percentile will get you most of the good colleges, so don't have to worry. You can focus on advance first, get good percentile in that, and then we can discuss about whether you will get which college would be better. But yeah, I think that is for future, right? First you have to do well in advance, so you can just skip the discussion of mains and trying to think about what college will you get or not. Leave it. First you give your mains advanced exam, and then we can discuss about it. Now what's your measurement of com for continuous mass system? Now for continuous mass system, bachcho, we have a big mass, and this is basically made of many small dms, right? This is made up of many small dms. So we can say that x com is equal to integration of x dm upon integration dm. Now what is this dm? Good job, RS. So this dm is nothing but the chota mass, right? Small mass, I can say. Small mass. And if dm is the small mass, and what is x equal to? X is the x com of, yeah, we can say that, x com of dm mass, right? This is whatever we select as dm, the center of mass of dm, x coordinate is basically x over here. Good RS. I think Amazon app is quite helpful, no doubt about it. It has some excellent material, so I think it will be helpful later on as well, till the time you prepare for JEE Advance. And bachcho, over here ycom will be equal to integration of y dm upon integration dm, and same goes for zcom as well. It is integration of z dm upon integration dm. So what are the ways in which we could write small dm? Okay, so dm is equal to lambda dl, dm is equal to sigma dA, and dm is equal to rho dv. Now what is the difference between them? Okay, RS, nice, good. So this dl is the small length, right? And dA is small area, and dV is small volume, right? Small volume. And what are lambda, sigma, and rho? So lambda is basically mass per unit length, So whenever you have to write dm, you can use this understanding of what lambda is, what sigma is, mass per unit area, and rho is obviously mass per unit volume. Okay, so when you're writing down dm, you have to consider this. Yeah, you can say that mass, linear mass density, areal mass density, and volumetric mass density. That also means the same thing. Okay, I think if this is the rod, right, and suppose you have to write dm, so this linear mass density will help you to write dm for a linear mass. Similarly, sigma will help you to write dm for a areal mass, and rho will help you to write down the area of a volumetric mass. Okay, so that thing you must know, and then bacho you must be able to remember the comm of common shapes. Okay, so what is the comm of the semicircular wire, bachcho? Anybody fatafat quickly tell me where is the location of comm of a semicircular wire? I hope many of you must be aware. Quickly tell me, bachcho, what is the distance? What is the distance of comm of semicircular wire from the center of that circle? It's 2r by pi, right? Don't miss r, bachcho. It is 2r by pi. No, but I don't have a home in Mumbai. No, I don't have it. It's very difficult to have a home in Mumbai. No doubt about it. So tell me, bachcho, if this is the comm for a semicircular wire, then where will be the comm located for a quarter wire? Right? Find coordinate of comm of quarter wire. What will be the answer of this, bachcho? Sure, very for sure, Aris. It's very difficult to even have a rented home in Mumbai. Don't worry. No, I can totally understand that emotion. It's very difficult. Is it 2r by pi or is it something different? Assuming we have to find the coordinate with respect to this point, it is 0 comma 0. So what is the coordinate of center of mass of quarter wire? And you have to get me the answer in terms of x comma y, right? So what is the x coordinate? What is the y coordinate? I think some of you are trying to give me the correct answer, although they are not able to, add the thing what they are exactly trying to say. The distance should be 2 root 2 r by pi, r upon theta, sine theta. I don't think so. I think the answer should be equal to, the answer should be equal to 2r by pi, comma 2r by pi. Please check. Bacho, let us think what will happen to this quarter circle. We can say that due to symmetry, bacho, the comm has to lie on the angle bisector, right? Because across this line, the left part mass has to be equal to right part mass, so it will definitely lie on the angle bisector. If I just complete this quarter circle and complete it into a semicircular form, I can also say by symmetry that if this is the comm of the remaining quarter circle, then both these comms will effectively give you the comm of the complete semicircular wire, because you can concentrate the complete mass on the comm, right? So, bacho, what we have to do now, we have to think that if this angle is 45 degree and we know that this height is 2r by pi, this height remains 2r by pi. So, we for sure can say that, for this part of quarter circle, and if this is the location of comm, this distance is 2r by pi and this angle is 45 degree, right? So obviously the y coordinate is 2r by pi and the x coordinate is also 2r by pi, and therefore this is the correct answer. So if somebody asks you what is the distance of comb from the center, it is 2 root 2 r by pi. Please check, bachcho. I hope this is clear. Yeah, good job. So for semicircular disc, the comb location is 4r by 3 pi. The same diagram we can say, and the distance of comb from the center is 4r by 3 pi. For hollow cone and solid cone, if this is the cone and this is complete h for the cone, then if the center of mass is over here, then the height for h for hollow cone, h will be equal to capital H divided by 3, and for solid cone h will be equal to capital H divided by 4. And please remember these two values because they can be directly asked in your exam. And I have absolutely no doubt with the type of questions that they have given in this March, in fact Feb attempt, they can give any kind of simple question in April and March attempt as well. So do remember them. For hollow and solid hemisphere, bachcho, so if this is the hemisphere and the radius of hemisphere is r, and if this is the height, then in terms of r we can say that for hollow hemisphere h is equal to r by 2, and for solid hemisphere h is equal to 3r divided by 8. Please remember these two values. Good, Anjali, I think you are correct. The important thing is, bachcho, that you can remember this also, that for a solid hemisphere the majority of mass is going to be concentrated at the bottom, right? So more mass at the bottom means the center of mass will be shifted towards the center of the base circle, and that is why this height is smaller as compared to the height of a center of mass of hollow hemisphere, and same goes for cone as well. So more mass at the bottom means, bachcho, that the center mass will be shifted towards the base of the cone. So you remember this concept and it helps you to get the answer quickly. Bachcho, for motion of center of mass, let us also see a couple of formulae for motion of center of mass. Then velocity vector, bachcho, is nothing but dr by dt, right? So this is velocity of center of mass and this is position vector of center of mass. So we get the formula of Vcom as m1 v1 plus m2 v2 up till mn vn divided by sum of masses, right? And we can also differentiate this function to get acceleration of comb as a dv comb by dt, and you get the value as m1 a1. Definitely beta sh, you can solve the past papers of every attempt, no doubt about it, it is useful, but don't go with that assumption that you will get the same type of questions. Okay, K, take care, don't worry, have health is wealth, right? Take good care of your health and get well soon. The thing is, bachcho, in this case, what is important to remember is that for momentum conservation, initial momentum equal to final momentum, which implies, now this numerator, bachcho, is the total momentum of system, right? This is the total momentum. Now this is the total momentum, and if this is constant, we can say that Vcom is constant. And if, bachcho, initial equal to final equal to 0, if initial equal to final equal to 0, then Vcom is also equal to 0, which implies delta xcom is 0. Understand it very clearly that there is no shift of com. If initial momentum equal to final momentum equal to 0 for com, then there is no shift of com. Okay, can I skip thermal properties? I won't skip it. If I were in your place, definitely not. I would not skip any of the topic. I would try to cover the easier part of those things, right? So any question which comes very directly on Wien's displacement law or Stephen's law, I should be in a position to answer them. If at all a difficult question comes, then I would say that okay, I'll just I won't attempt it, because in any case majority of the students won't be able to do it, so it's fine with me. But I won't leave the easy questions based on any topic. That is why I'm saying that do all the topics which you feel you are weak at, and get to a situation where you are able to solve at least the easy questions on those topics. You cannot leave any topic as such. Okay. Right? So, Bacho, let us solve some questions based on center of mass and then we will go on to the discussion of moment of inertia. So, this is the first question, and I would like all of you to get the correct answer in your first attempt. Don't make any kind of silly mistake, where and there is a lot of chance of making mistakes in these questions. But I would really love that if you do not do it, then you will get into a zone where you get the correct answer in your first attempt only. So please find, there are 2 point masses. Find the location of third mass. So that the center of mass of the system of masses is at 1, 2, 3. Please try, bachcho. Get me a correct answer in your first attempt. Find location of third mass, so that center of mass of the system is at 1, 2, 3. So m1 into r1. I'm just writing down the formula. I want the answers from you guys. Upon the sum of masses is equal to position vector of bachcho. So I think you are given everything. You are given the three masses. You are given two position vectors, and you have to find the location of 4 kg. So it's absolutely a very easy question, and I want everybody if you get to get the correct answer in your first attempt. So I've got the first answer. Let me see. Oh my god! So we have got two different answers in the first two attempts. Okay. Anybody else, बच्चों? So 1 times minus 2 I cap plus 3 j cap plus k cap plus 2 times I cap minus j cap plus 4 k cap plus 4 times r3 vector, which we have to find, upon 7 is equal to I plus 2j plus 3k, right? So बच्चों, if you just see I cap term over here, it comes out to be 0. What is j cap term? 3 minus 2 j, and k plus 8k 9k plus 4 r3 is equal to 7. We can take on the other side, 7i plus 14j plus 21k. So R3 bachcho comes out to be, if you subtract j from here, so that will give us 7 by 4 comma 13 by 9 comma 13 by 4, sorry, not 9, 13 by 4 comma 12 by 4, that is 3. Please check 7 by 4 I cap plus 13 by 4 j cap plus 3 k cap. Is it okay, bachcho? Please check. I've got two correct answers. I think the last two seem correct. But those of you who got the incorrect answer, bachcho, please check again what type of mistakes you committed, because it is not acceptable, right? Such type of questions, you should get the correct answer in your first attempt. There cannot be any kind of reason behind getting the wrong answer, okay? So the first question was the easiest question of today's class, and I hope that you all would have got the correct answer in your first attempt. But even if you haven't, check the type of mistakes that you have done and don't repeat it. I know, beta, but in the online exam also you will be given questions like this. So just make sure that you don't make any kind of mistake in copying the terms down. So that is what you have to remember. Now you have a two particle system. If the first particle is pushed towards the center of mass by d, by what distance should the second particle is moved so as to keep the center of mass at the same position? Sure, NK, sure. Got it. Hmm. Please try now. Again, a question in which you shouldn't make any type of mistake. But I know that, some of you might be having a concern in solving such questions correctly. Okay, so Anjali has got the option as C, Chirag as C. Now see, we don't have to shift the center of mass from its location. That means, bachcho, we can say that delta xcom is 0. Please think about it. What exactly is xcom? Xcom is, bachcho, m1 into x1 plus m2 into x2 upon m1 plus m2, right? So when you will actually, for small changes in the value of xcom, we can write it down that delta xcom is simply equal to m1 into delta x1 plus m2 into delta x2 upon m1 plus m2. Now since, bachcho, we know that this is not going to shift, this term will be 0. Now if we consider a two-point mass system, right, and this is suppose the location of com, and first particle is pushed towards com by d, therefore delta x1, bachcho, can be written as plus d. This can be written as d because that is a shift of first mass. We have to find delta x2 over here. So if we just substitute the value 0, m1 plus m2 goes to this 0, this will become m1 into d plus m2 into delta x2. And by this we can find delta x2 as, bachcho, minus m1 upon m2 into d. And if I observe the magnitude of it, then obviously the answer is option C. Good job, Snehanjali, and many of you have got the correct answer. I think all of you have got the correct answer as C, which is great to know. So, bachcho, is there any doubt in this question? Does anybody want to ask anything related to this question? Any doubt, bachcho? Is it fine? The way I have written delta xcom from xcom, is it okay? Have you understood this part? I hope it's fine. Let us go on to the next question. Good. Okay, great. Again, such questions in which you have to be little careful. You don't have to do it in a hurry because then you will again make a mistake. So I've warned you before you have started to solve this question that the manner in which they have given this question, you just have to be very sure that you don't make a silly mistake, right? So there is a circular disc and you have removed a small disc from a bigger one such that the circumferences of both discs coincide. The center mass of the new disk, which is the truncated disk, is alpha into r from the center of the bigger disk. Okay, so it's helpful for us to assume center over here, and then we can take the coordinates of all masses which are involved. So I would like you guys to solve it first, and then we will also get the answer of this question. No, it's not a 1 hour class. I think, beta, this is a 1.5 hour class. Don't worry. It's a 1.5 hour class, right? So we will be studying till 2:30. Not a problem. So there are two options which can be, which are pretty close, in which you can make a mistake. That is B and D, right? So the answer seems to be either of B and D, and you have to be very careful because over here the bigger radius is 2r, right? So the bigger radius is taken as 2r. So when we will say and use the negative mass constant, bachcho, we can say that this is the sum of a filled disk and a negative mass disk, right? So if we consider that the mass density of this filled disk is plus sigma and the mass density of the negative mass is minus sigma, then, bachcho, we have to be little careful when you are writing down the formula of negative mass concept, right? So xcom can be written as m1 x1 plus m2 x2 upon m1 plus m2. So please substitute the values yourself and please let me know what is the value of chota a. I got it NK. It might be a typing mistake or something, right? So don't worry about that. I'll be teaching you guys for complete 1.5 hours. Okay. Right. So Anjali is getting option B. Uh, Chirag is also getting option B. So let me write down the terms associated with M1 and M2. So M1 is बच्चों sigma into pi into 2r square. 2r square will be 4r square. And incidentally, its center of mass is at 0, comma 0 itself. So the term associated with XCOM is 0. For the second term M2, the mass will be minus sigma into pi r square. Please do check. And its location of com will be equal to, now this distance is, I think, how much? R by 2. So this will be R by 2 over here, right? Divided by m1 plus m2. Now what exactly is m1 plus m2? Let us see. So m1 will be equal to bachcho sigma into pi into 4r square, and this will be equal to minus sigma into pi r square, right? So bachcho, if we write this XCOM as a into r, and if we just use simple mathematics to cancel out pi, sorry, sigma r square everywhere, what is the value of a that we are getting? Please check. This is r by 2 divided by, and this will become 4 minus 1, that is 3. So are we getting a as 1 by 6? Please check. Because this term over here is r by 2, not r. In fact, this is okay. My bad. I think this is the radius r. So this term over here will remain r only. It won't be r by 2. This is r because of the radius. And therefore a will be equal to 1 by 3. Great. Please check. Yes, the radius is r for the smaller circle. Good, good, good. So the answer for this question is option B. B for Bombay. So you have to be very careful, right? Because the type of mistake that I did is exactly what most of the kids will be doing. And they have given it the options as 1 by 6 as well. So you have to be very careful, because you can check it a couple of times that in such situations what will be the coordinate. So it will be r comma 0. So you just have to be very, very, very careful. You cannot lose marks based on such type of silly mistakes. Right? Is it fine? Got it, everybody? Any doubt in this? If not, then go on to solving this question. So there is a uniform thin rod. In this case, bachcho, uniform linear mass density is not constant, it is variable. And then it is given that center of mass is lying at a distance 7 L by 12. Then how are A and B related? Okay. Please check. A little bit of maths is involved. It's not that straightforward, but again, if your concepts are pretty clear, you know how to write down the equation of location of center of mass, then it won't be a big problem. There's a little bit of maths involved. Try to solve the equations in your notebook, right? Don't do it orally or verbally, because then again you will increase the chances of you making some sort of mistake. Chirag is getting option B. Okay. Yeah, I'm giving you a couple of minutes, beta. Giving you a couple of minutes. Yes, please try. Hmm. Right. I think such questions are again, what I can say that, these are the questions that are going to fetch you marks. They're a little lengthy. You might take a minute to solve them. But if you know the formula involved, like, integration of xdm upon integration dm, this is what you have to do. So the xcom location is given as 7L by 12, and that is equal to integration of. Now dm can be written as bachcho lambda dx. Over here dm also can be written as lambda dx. So if you substitute the value of lambda and multiply it by x, so the equation will come out to be something like this. Please check. Divided by, right? So if we just substitute the values now, bachcho, then this will give us al square by 2 plus bl cube by 3, and I think one L will also get cancelled out. Over here it will come AL plus BL square by 2L. Now this L will get cancelled out with this, and one L power will reduce over here as well. So the equation that you will get is bachcho 7 by 12 is equal to, we can say that this is going to be A divided by 2 plus B divided by 3 divided by A plus B by 2. Right? I think what we have done is correct, bachcho. Dm x into x square. No, I think this is the standard equation, right? We just discussed it earlier. For continuous mass distribution, if you just replace the value of dm, you should get the differential equation. Why it is not dm? Beta, we are not calculating moment of inertia. We are calculating center of mass. I hope you are not confused between the formula of center of mass and moment of inertia. Is it not? X square term comes during moment of inertia calculation, not center of mass. Yeah. So, bachcho, when you will multiply this by 7 and this by 12, cross multiply these terms, 7a is plus 3.5b is equal to 6a plus 4b, and that gives you the answer as a is equal to 0.5b or 2a is equal to b, which is option B for Bombay. Right? I hope this is clear. Any doubt, anything you want to ask, you can, and then try out this equation, this question. Sorry. So you have a plank, and there are two uncles, Sharma ji and Garg ji, standing at the ends, and they both interchange their locations by slow walking. They meet at the between, but they don't stop there. They interchange their locations, and the question is, what is the displacement of Planck during their motion? So this is an important question which gives you an idea of what center of mass does when momentum is conserved, right? If momentum is conserved, then center of mass is not basically changing its velocity. It remains where it was. It does not change its location. So you have to tell me, bacho, how much does the Planck move? All masses are given. That is not a problem for us. So, with proper calculation, tell me where the effective center of mass of system will lie, and I'll give you a couple of minutes to solve. Please try, bachcho. Any answer? Okay, so Lakshman, this is actually used in order to solve certain situations quickly. It's not that actually in reality all the mass is concentrated at a center at a point, but in order to write down the total moment of system, in fact total momentum of system, we can assume that the whole mass is concentrated at the center, and when we apply the usual equations, we get a quick answer. Okay, so that is how we use this assumption in order to analyze the situation, some situations quickly. It does not mean that for all cases we are going to take the whole mass at center. Only in those cases where center of mass helps us to get the answers quickly and correctly. Okay, so not everywhere. So like in force of gravitation, we don't assume that all the mass is concentrated at the center of mass and then apply the famous Newton's law of gravitation. We don't do it. Okay, so that is the idea. So I haven't got the correct answer from anybody till now, bacho. I don't think any of the known answers right now are correct. 14, 2 and 0, none of the answers are correct. So let us see who is heavier. So I think Garg uncle is heavier, so he will try to shift the plank in his side. So let us assume that the plank is bacho shifted towards right, and this is shifted by a distance x. So obviously from here also we can say that the start of plank has shifted by a distance x, and the center of plank has also shifted by a distance x. Now bachcho, if we can write down over here that since momentum is conserved, initial momentum equal to final momentum in this case is equal to 0, because initially the system was at rest. So we can say that bachcho, that delta x com is equal to 0. I hope this is not a problem for anybody. Shift in the com is 0, and if shift in the com is 0 bachcho, then m1 into delta x1 plus m2 into delta x2 plus m3 into delta x3 is also equal to 0, because this denominator m1 plus m2 plus m3 will go to that 0. Now if we consider m1 to be Sharma ji, then we can write down the mass of Sharma ji, which is given as 60. Now what is his shift? Now bacho, this uncle Sharma ji has gone to the right part of this plank, which tells us that the distance covered by Sharma ji is equal to 10, which is the plank length, plus x, that is 10 plus x. Please check. I hope this is clear. Let us assume that the mass 2 is Planck's mass. Now Planck's mass is given as 100, and shift in the Planck is equal to x towards right, and therefore plus x. For third uncle, that is in fact third mass, that is Garg uncle, whose mass is given as 80. Now what is his shift? Bacho, he shifts towards left. Now left implies negative, and how much does he cover? He is at this point and he reaches over here. Obviously he hasn't covered the complete 10, he has covered 10 minus x, and negative because he has covered it towards left. So this term, third term, and some of these three terms will be equal to 0. And if you solve this bacho, 60 plus 100, and this will become minus 800, sorry 600 plus 100, and I think in fact 600 minus 800, not 100, because 100 is x with x over here. This will be 60x plus 80x, and 100x is equal to 0. That will give you the answer as 240x is equal to 200, and x bachcho over here will come out to be 5 by 6 meter. Please check bachcho. Yes, I'll explain one more time, but just focus on what I've written first. I'll give you half a minute to observe how I've written these three values. Maybe the eureka moment might come by your own, right? The eureka moment in which you understand the thing which I have discussed by yourself, because I've written everything down. So I've not missed anything. I've written everything down. I haven't explained you in thin air, right? I've written down everything. So I'll give you a half minute to try to understand how I've written things first by yourself. And if you aren't clear, I'll just explain it one more time. Okay. So please do understand this question. It's a very important question on based on the shift of center of mass. We got delta x com to be 0 bachcho, because momentum of system is This momentum is nothing but total mass into velocity of center of mass that we saw at the left. So if initial momentum is 0, then center of mass velocity also becomes 0. And if center of mass velocity is 0, then we can write that the shift of center of mass is equal to 0. Okay. Yeah, it happens. It happens, beta. It happens. You took the displacement as 10 instead of 10 plus. It happens. But the important thing is to learn from your mistakes and not repeating them, right? That is why we are here. Please check. Have you understood, bachon? Think. So this is Mr. Sharma, and over here Sharma ji reaches like towards right, and this is Mr. Garg, and Mr. Garg reaches over here on the left. Thank you, beta. Is it okay now? Have you understood SN? Is it clear? If you have any specific doubt, do ask, bacho. Don't be afraid of asking it. Right. So because Sharma ji went from point A to the right of Planck, he covered a extra distance of x. If friction is present, Planck might not move. For sure, Lakshman. But friction is not present over here. Okay. Hi Surya, but friction is not present on the ground. Had friction been present, we could not have conserved momentum. Then we could not have said that initial momentum equal to final equal to 0. In that case, momentum would have changed for sure. Hi GM, hello. Is it fine now, bacho? I hope that this question might have, given you a lot of thought, right? So physics is quite interesting. It's the best subject in the world for sure, no doubt about it, right? So, bacho, let us go on to the moment of inertia. Again, a very important term which is associated with rotational motion. And I of a body is basically giving you an idea of what mass does in translation motion is what moment of inertia does in relative motion. So more the value of I, more will be the resistance it will give to change the state of rotational motion, right? Practically how the Planck will move. BD, I think all of you must have encountered such kind of motion, bachcho, when you are in a lake, when you are boating, and then you maybe if you have to change your location, it seems that when you are walking, the boat starts moving. It looks like that. It feels like that, and it actually does move. So when the boat is floating in water and you are walking on the boat, then the boat actually moves, right? If it is not connected to a rope or something. So that is how the plank will move when it is kept on a frictionless board, frictionless ground. Yeah, so it's the similar thing that when you're moving slowly, the plank also starts moving backward because you have friction between your feet and the plank. There is no friction on ground, but there has to be friction on the plank and your legs. Otherwise the plank cannot move. You cannot walk on the plank. Sharmaji and Garg uncle will not be able to move on the plank, right? Great. So, bachcho, eye of the body is not fixed. It depends on the choice of axis of rotation. All these things are quite straightforward. Eye also depends on the density, shape, and size, and then what mass is to translation and moment of inertia to rotational. So, all these things are pretty straightforward. Okay. So, have you understood BD what we were discussing? Is it clear now, or is there any other doubt? There is friction obviously between foot of Sharmaji and the plank, but there is no friction on plank and the ground. Okay. Yeah. Good. So, bacho, what is the formula of moment of inertia for discrete mass system? So, if we have an axis of rotation like this, if this is the axis of rotation, then bacho, if there are multiple masses involved, suppose m1, m2, and we can go up to mn, then moment of inertia of this system is simply equal to m1 into r1 square plus m2 into r2 square plus mn into rn square, right? And we can write down I as m1 into r1 square plus where this r1 is perpendicular distance of m1 from axis of rotation, or simply the given axis, right? Whichever is the given axis about which you have to calculate the moment of inertia. Okay, so from that you can calculate the r perpendicular and use it to calculate the moment of inertia. For continuous mass distribution, bachcho, same logic. The only difference is in this case that you're given a rigid body and you're given the axis, right? And this is the m1, this is m2, and similarly you can take many such masses over here. I think moment of inertia is a physical quantity, but yeah, this is not something which you can, observe. You can basically observe and compare the masses as compared to moment of inertia, because moment of inertia is something which you are like, suppose this is a very huge door, in the fort or something, this is a very huge door. Then you can say by its shape and size that I is huge. Just because the moment of inertia, just because the mass is huge and the hinges are at the end, you can say that the I is huge. You can compare the moment of inertia. So it's a physical quantity which does exist, right? It's not something which you can say that it's imaginary or something. It's not like that. It does exist, but yeah, in order to calculate it, you have to know certain things, and if they are given, then you can calculate it, right? Now, for continuous mass distribution, I is equal to integration of dm into r square, where this r is perpendicular distance of dm from axis of rotation, or the given axis about which you have to calculate the moment of inertia. Pretty straightforward. Now, there are two theorems associated with moment of inertia. Very important, I think you must all be aware. One is the parallel axis theorem and the other is perpendicular axis theorem. Now, what is parallel axis theorem? Let us see. So, this is the center of mass, and suppose this is one axis, okay, about which you know the moment of inertia is I naught. Now, there is another axis which is parallel to the first axis, but it is a distance d from it, right? The distance between two parallel axes is d. So I over here is equal to I naught plus m into d square. So this is the parallel axis theorem, right? So it is applicable for all types of bodies in 1, 2 or 3 dimensions, right? And I naught is moment of inertia but axis passing through com. This is extremely important, right? But both are important. Parallel axis theorem is important and perpendicular axis theorem is also important. So it's not that usually only parallel axis theorem is used. I don't think so. It works like that. Both are extremely important. Okay. So I hope this is clear. For example, we'll use these in examples just in a moment. Perpendicular axis theorem, bachcho, only applicable for bodies in 1 and 2 dimension. It's extremely important, and it is not applicable for bodies in 3 dimensions, right? So we can say over here that if this is the rigid body and body is lying in xy plane, body lies in xy plane, then we can say that if this is the axis z, which is perpendicular to plane of body, this is basically x and this is y, which is in the plane of body, then I can say that iz is equal to ix plus iy, right? Because bachcho, in derivation, when we derive this perpendicular axis theorem, that derivation is only applicable when the body is only in 2 dimensions. That is the criteria, because otherwise that derivation won't work. Okay, so iz is equal to ix plus iy. Now this is about axis x, this is I about axis y. X and y are mutually perpendicular. They have to be mutually perpendicular, important. And z is again perpendicular to xy plane. So all 3 axes become mutually perpendicular to each other, right? So we can write this down as well over here, that x, y, z are mutually perpendicular, and this is the perpendicular axis theorem, right? So please be aware of this. And there are certain formulae, bachcho, which are usually used in solving problems, like for linear rod. Let me see how many of you remember the linear rod moment of inertia. So if this central axis which passes through the center of mass, moment of inertia is I1, and through the end of rod, moment of inertia is I2. Bachcho, quickly tell me what is the value of I1 and I2 for thin circular ring. For thin circular ring, if moment of inertia perpendicular to plane, I1 is ml square by 12 and ml square by 3. Excellent. Ml square by 12 and this is ml square by 3. Good job. For thin circular ring, the moment of inertia is mr square, right? And by perpendicular axis theorem, we can calculate moment of inertia about this axis is mr square by 2. And again, by applying parallel axis theorem, we can say that moment of inertia about this axis is 3 by 2 mr square. I hope this is clear to all. If there is any doubt, do ask. Good job, bachcho. Is it okay? For ring perpendicular to plane of ring, moment of inertia is mr square by mr square, only mr square. Moment of inertia about this axis in the plane of ring is mr square by 2. And by applying parallel axis theorem, we can also say that moment of inertia about this axis is 3 by 2 mr square. Beta, by perpendicular axis theorem, Ix plus Iy is Iz, and that Iz is given as mr square. Now, because Ix is equal to Iy for ring, right? Because ring has exactly a very uniform mass distribution, so Ix and Iy both are going to be same because mass distribution about the axis is same. So we can calculate Ix equal to Iy equal to mr square divided by 2. Okay. For बच्चों disk, same thing for disk. If this is the disk perpendicular to the plane of disk, moment of inertia is mr square divided by 2, right? And if we want to find out the axis, the moment of inertia about this axis, this becomes mr square by 4. Same logic can be used for disk as well, right? This is the disk. For cylinder, hollow sphere and solid sphere, बच्चों, we can say that for a hollow cylinder, the moment of inertia will be mr square. It is independent of length. For solid cylinder, the moment of inertia will be mr square by 2. The whole world seems to know it, right? For hollow sphere, it is 2 by 3 mr square. For solid sphere, it is 2 by 5 mr square, right? For a completely filled solid sphere, the moment of inertia will be 2 by 5 mr square. Now you can take any axis which passes through the center. All the moment of inertia will remain same about any axis, that is 2 by 5 mr square. This is solid cylinder, this is hollow cylinder. So these formulae must be remembered by heart. Anybody, even if somebody wakes you up at 3 a.m. in the morning, right, early morning, you should be replicate all the formulae without any sort of error. There should not be any confusion, and you must all be able to answer in your first attempt, right? So, bacho, based on that, we'll solve certain questions. Hi DV, and there is also a formula, just the last formula before we start solving questions on moment of inertia, that is a radius of gyration. You just have to equate I by mk square, where k is the radius of gyration. So if suppose somebody asks you what is the radius of gyration for a solid sphere, so we can simply equate 2 by 5 mr square to mk square. So k comes out to be equal to root of 2 by 5 r, right? I hope this is fine. Pretty easy. So solve this question, bachcho, and again a caution from my side, don't make any kind of silly mistake while solving this question. Please try, bachcho. Don't be in a hurry. Don't make any kind of silly mistake. Be careful, because the last time I gave this question, I got a lot of incorrect answers. So obviously by the starting response, it is either of C and D, and some of you are committed of making some mistakes during the calculations, and you just have to be really careful. The correct answer of this question is obviously C, right? That is 2. So all those guys who are getting the answer is D. Bachcho, please check your mistakes. Please check your mistakes. It might seem, how is this possible that the answer is option C, but it is. I1 upon I2 बच्चों is basically equal to m1 r1 square divided by 2 upon m2 r2 square divided by 2. Now this is बच्चों effectively made of same thickness as well, and there are two uniform discs. That means you can assume that these are discs which are of the form of cylinder. Now you cannot just calculate m1 and m2 because mass will also depend on the radius, right? So m1 can be written as density into volume of that cylinder, effectively is pi r1 square into h, which is same, and m2 can also be written in this manner as pi r2 square into h. When you will substitute over here, then 1 upon 16 will come out to be बच्चों r1 की power 4 upon r2 की power 4. That gives the value of r1 upon r2 as 1 by 2, which is option C. Please check. So I can totally relate to it that you guys can forget, you guys can make a mistake, but now बच्चों you have to be very careful, and you cannot make such kind of mistakes during the exam. Right, Chirag? So you are hungry, so am I. But yes, I have not exceeded the time of this class. I'll leave you by 2:30. Don't worry. This was, a 1.5 hour class only. There was some, yeah. Don't worry. I'll just leave. I'll just leave you by 2:30. I know that you guys must be hungry, but it is said that you will have to. What should I say? That there is some sacrifice required for doing some great things in life, right? So this is a very small sacrifice that you have to wait till the class ends to take your lunch. But in fact, yes, you can also have your lunch during the class, but it might not work well in understanding what I'm discussing. Anyways, so bacha, is there any doubt in this? I hope this is clear. Anything you want to ask, do ask. Oh my God! So you had some rasam and rice as well. Good job, bacho. Sure, sure, sure. I went to Kerala a couple of years back, I think, and I had a lot of rasam and South Indian dishes. So I had an amazing time. So I will do visit soon. I like visiting places, but yeah, this Corona is, yeah. So I hope that things will become normal pretty soon. Nice, you're in Chennai. I haven't visited it yet, but I'm going to. So, Vacho, there is another question which is very, I can say, mistake-inducing question. So, be careful again. Okay, PG, you had a bad time, got 73 percentile. So, there is no shortcut. You have to work on your, weaknesses, and by these marks, you know that you have a lot of weaknesses. So, do concentrate on your weak topics, and try to understand the concepts which come in mains exams, and easier questions, try to solve them again and again. Okay, I haven't visited, I think, Andhra, in order to just to go through some tourist locations. I did visit Hyderabad once, I think, for a day or two, not much. uh Deceiving question, I think. So yeah, it looks pretty easy, straightforward question, but again, there is a lot of chance of making some sort of mistake. So just be careful. Okay. So when you have to find the ratio of moment of inertia, you are very familiar with the type of formulae that are required. So one is uniform disk, and the other is uniform sphere. I don't think so, bachcho, that the answer is 1:3. I don't think so. if you have to write the moment of inertia of sphere, it is mr square. Radius is given as 2r, mr square divided by 2. So that is obviously equal to I1. And the other mass, that is m by 8. And we can use the moment of inertia as 2 by 5 mr square. Here r will be equal to r by 2. Think why. 2 by 5 mr square. And if you solve this, you will get the value as 140, which is option B. Think about it, bachcho, because if radius r has, and it is made of sphere and of uniform mass density, it has mass m, then if the radius is reduced to r by 2, then for sphere it becomes m by 8, because the volume becomes 1/8, and therefore for the same mass density you get the mass as 1 by 8. Is it okay, bachcho? Think. That is why I've taken the radius as r by 2 over here. Please check whether you all are getting the same answer as 140. Is the ratio coming out to be 140? Please check. Better think about it, because see, the volume of this sphere is 4 by 3 pi r cube, and the volume of this sphere becomes 4 by 3 pi. Volume of this sphere becomes 4 by 3 pi r by 2 cube. So this 1 by 2 cube gives you 1 by 8 out, and 1 by 8 outside means that this volume becomes 1/8 of the original volume. So if this is volume V, then this term will give you V by 8. And for the same mass density, if the volume becomes 1/8, the mass will also become 1/8. Is it now understood? And you can see the fraction which is used over here. The mass of sphere will be m by 8, and therefore we can take the radius as r by 2. Okay. Yeah, good. Next question, bachcho. It was asked in 2011, and there were 4 spheres of given diameter, and they are placed at the corners of a square of side 4 centimeters. So these are the 4 spheres, and you have to calculate the moment of inertia of this system about the diagonal of a square. So about this, we have to calculate the moment of inertia. Please try. And this is an integer type question in which you have to find the value of n. Ting, 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 ting. I don't think beta 8, 9. I think Chirag is on fire, giving the correct answers one after the other. I think 9 should be the correct answer, I guess. Yes. I would like all of the present students to try it out. See, it's important to try even right now, even if you are not getting the answers quickly. It's important to write down the proper equations. Okay. Hunger makes you crazy. Okay. So in that case, you should always go and give the exam by not eating anything, and it's just a joke. So don't execute it during the exam. So after the exam, you might say, Ashish sir told me to go without eating in the exam. That is not what I meant, right? So, bache, if I have to calculate the value of I, so what will this be? Now these two spheres are, bachcho, basically going to give you the I with their normal formula of 2 by 5 mr square. So I can write down this as 2 into 2 by 5 mr square plus. These two masses are located symmetrically about this axis. So we can write down this as 2 into. Now, bachcho, over here we know the parallel axis theorem. We can work around with that. We can apply parallel axis theorem, because this distance we know as a by root 2, where a is the side of side of square. So we can write this as 2 by 5 mr square plus m into a by root 2 ka whole square. Okay. So if we just calculate it, we'll get that 8 by 5 mr square plus 2m a square by 2, right? And then we can replace the values. Mass as 0.5, radius is bachcho root 5 by 2. So this becomes 5 upon 4 into 10 ki power minus 4. This becomes mass into, mass is 0.5 into a square, 16 into 10 की power minus 4. So this बच्चों can be solved as 10 की power minus 4 plus 8 into 10 की power minus 4. This gets us 9 into 10 की power minus 4, and therefore n is equal to 9. Okay, for sure. This gives you the correct answer. I hope this is clear to all. Is it fine? And now we get on to the last question of today's class, bachcho. This is my favorite question. This is my favorite question. A square plate of mass m is given as shown in figure. Find the moment of inertia of this figure about an axis x x dash. Now to know this, bachcho, I'm not telling you the solution of this question. I'm just telling you that square plate, and if you want to get the moment of inertia about any axis passing through the center of square plate in the plane of square plate, the answer will be how much? Tell me. What is the moment of inertia about any axis which passes through the center of square plate in the plane of square plate? Suppose the side of square plate is A. Then can I say that I is equal to ma square divided by 12? I hope this is clear to all. Beta ma square plus b square divided by 12 is for rectangle, and that is for plane which is perpendicular to the plane of rectangle, right? And for square plate, ma square by 6 comes perpendicular to the plane of square. In the plane of square, any axis which is passing through the center will give you moment of inertia as ma square by 12. Now use this logic to get the answer of question for moment of inertia about the axis x x dash. Let me see if anybody of you get the correct answer in your first attempt. It's a good question. One of my favorites, or even my favorite question of moment of inertia. Let me see if you can get the right answer in your first attempt. And there is a reason why I like this question, so don't be in a hurry, because then you will again make a mistake which even you won't like. Any answer from anybody? Okay, bachcho. So for a square plate, I can say that ma square by 6 will be the moment of inertia about an axis perpendicular to the plane of square. So this axis will give you the answer as ma square by 6, right? But for any axis which passes through the center and in the plane of square, like this axis, the moment of inertia will be ma square by 12. Really impressed with Chirag. I think he's on fire, giving the correct answers for every question which I have asked. Excellent job, bache. So the thing is, for this question of square, what you have to do is, bacho, you have to understand that this is the axis through which we have to find, and it's quite straightforward to assume an axis which is parallel to this one. Now, if we know that moment of inertia about this axis is ma square by 12, which we just discussed right now, we just have to find the perpendicular distance. Now, perpendicular distance, bachcho, is not that straightforward, because this length is not the perpendicular distance, or it's not the shortest distance between these two parallel lines. This is a by root 2, but bachcho, the perpendicular, or we can say d, distance d is this length, right? It is this length. And therefore, what we can say is that if you observe this triangle, right angle triangle, this angle will be 60 degree. How? Because this angle is bacho 15, and if you connect it with this line, this angle is 45. The sum of 45 and 15 will give you 60 degree, right? So the actual answer of this question will be I is equal to ma square by 12 plus m into d square. That will give you ma square by 12 plus m into, now this d will be bachcho a by root 2 sine 60, a by root 2 sine 60 ka whole square. Okay, and if you just calculate this value over here, if you just calculate this value over here at the top, then this will be equal to ma square by 12 plus m into, now this sine 60 will give you root 3 by 2, this will give you 3 by 8 ma square, and if you can just solve these two, this will give you 11 ma square by 24. Please check. Did you understand this part? Is there any doubt? If there is any doubt, do ask bachcho. Is it okay? Have you understood it? Is it clear? A very interesting question, but that should clear all of your concepts, and based on parallel access theorem as well, because once you make a mistake and then you try it out again, then you will remember it for the rest of your life, even not only for this exam. Okay. So, Bacho, I hope you understood this part, and you did like this session today. So, what our intention was, Bacho, in order to cover rotation in these two parts, we have discussed about the important concept of center of mass and the moment of inertia today. Md square, yes, BD. So, D is effectively this distance, right? The shortest distance. So, if I draw this right angle triangle, if this is distance D, this is a by root 2, and this angle is 60 degree, right? So you can write down D as a by root 2 sine 60. Is it okay? In the right angle triangle, you can write down the perpendicular as hypotenuse sine 60 degree. Okay? Fine? Okay, great. So, Bacho, what we'll be doing in the next class, I think we'll be discussing about torque, angular momentum, and T plus R motion. We will discuss about rolling. So, the remaining part of rotational motion we will cover in that class, and that class will be on Thursday, right? And do remember the time. I think in the morning we have the English class, right? So for all of you students who are attending the class today, what do you think about the time duration of this session? Are you okay with the morning session or the afternoon session? What do you think is your preferred one? Do you prefer the morning session or the afternoon session? Quickly do give me a response. Is it, what does work best for you, afternoon or morning? Morning 9 a.m. or afternoon around 1 p.m.? And quickly, if you can tell me the reason for it, a very specific reason that this is my preferred time. That reason can also work, that I don't wake up before 10 in the morning, so a 9 a.m. class is very difficult for us to attend. What do you think, Bacho? Okay, so I am getting a 50-50 answer of morning and afternoon. Hunger makes me crazy, so 9 a.m. is preferred for Chirag. I can totally understand better. Right. Good job. I think this also makes a lot of sense. Sir, three 1 hour classes instead of two 1.5 classes. Okay, got it. And what about English? So many of you might be attending even English classes. Is it so? What is the difference you feel in English and English? I think if you are able to understand a bit of Hindi, then English would work pretty well. Okay. School happens in the morning, so might you might prefer the afternoon class. Right, right. Yeah, for those students who don't know Hindi, that is why the English classes are being kept. But are those students also attending this class who know Hindi and still they are attending the English class? Is there anybody? I can understand that reason for those who are busy in the morning or they are going to school. Okay, homeschooling is also there. Great job. Yeah. Got it. Understood. Great job, guys. So, all the best to all of you, and really, really nice session for today. Enjoyed a lot. I hope that you guys also enjoyed as well. So, bacho, all the very best. We'll meet day after tomorrow at 9 a.m. and we will complete the remaining part of rotation. Okay. Yeah, I am also very happy. I also feel very happy teaching you guys. I graduated in year 2009. Okay. So only I'm a little older than you. I'm around 16, 17 years older than you. Just like that, not much. Yeah. Okay, bachcho, bye bye. Bye JB, bye NA, bye BD, bye Balu. Nice. I'll turn 33, I think, which week? I'll turn 33 this week. My birthday is also pretty near, right? I'll turn 33. Bye Rutvik. Bye Khush. Bye bye bachcho. All the very best to all of you. Take care. We'll meet soon. Bye. Signing off.
For detailed videos, daily practice problems and live chat, visit academy.amazon.in or download the app.